Christmas celebration is on, and the countdown is on as well over at Lutheran Church of the Cross. With more, we welcome Pastor Richard Peterson, and we welcome Pastor Paul Finley to our program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Michael. Glad to be here.
You guys are doing your Advent, and you're having some testimonials. You're doing some things online and Facebook. For people who don't know, I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, my Advent calendar." Yeah, that's the thing where the chocolates come in. Exactly. What do we mean when we're talking about Advent as we count down to the birth of Christ?
Well, this time of the year, in everywhere you go, in malls, on the car radio, you're hearing all about Christmas. But in the church calendar, we talk about Advent as the season of 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. And then Christmas extends for 12 days after December 25th. So the word Advent means to prepare. And we're, of course, preparing in our homes, cleaning, cooking, baking, decorating. But at church, we want to talk about preparing spiritually. And so we offer many resources to people to help them deal with the busyness, the stress, the hecticness, and the over-commercialization of the holiday in the secular world. We have a daily Advent devotional that we're putting out on YouTube and our church Facebook page to just kind of cut through the noise and find the peace of the season. Jesus is called the Prince of Peace, and the celebration of his birth ought to be more about celebrating peace than buying things. So we want to give people a little gift every day, not unlike opening up doors in an Advent calendar, but just a little click that you can watch or listen to.
No, that's terrific. Pastor Peterson, do you get the sense that some people kind of take on the Christmas holiday as a lot of pressure instead of maybe celebrating what it's supposed to be about? Like, oh, I need to get the credit. And they put all this pressure on themselves to make a holiday fantastic, but forget maybe the meaning behind the holiday?
It sure is. They sure do. They are so concerned about what they're going to do for the season that they don't really recognize what the season is all about. And when we think about Christmas, we think about Christmas coming, Advent, Christmas coming. Sometimes we ignore this idea that not only are we thinking about Jesus coming as the babe in Bethlehem, but also we think about his coming again, when he will come again in the clouds, and every eye will see him, and everybody will recognize that Jesus is Lord of all. And so Advent is also about that. So sometimes our Bible readings for Christmas or for the season are about Jesus coming again. We think, how does that fit in? Fits in perfectly. Jesus is coming again to be the Savior of the world.
Yeah. And when we think of gift giving during Christmas, kind of the original is the gift of Christ and gift of those things, and that can you imagine not opening a gift that was given to you? And so I think I've often heard that's one of the messages of the gift of Christ is there for everyone to open and have in their hearts, right?
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate when a gift goes unopened, but another gift that we as a church have to share with the village is coming up this Sunday, December 8th, in our morning worship services. We have 2 services on Sunday morning at 8:30 and 10:30. And this Sunday, we have our annual choral Advent music service. Our choir is going to be performing 5 or 6 anthems throughout the whole service. We have handbells and many favorite Christmas carols that the congregation will be singing along. And we like to think of it as a gift to the community that we can experience together. And so many people who don't attend church weekly may choose to come out for Christmas Eve. That's a big event of the year that people will come out to. But consider checking out our Choral Advent service this Sunday as an extra gift this Advent season.
Yeah, and for folks who have trouble with mobility or getting around, you guys are also going to be online with that at lcotc.org, so people can check that out and hear the music and welcome and pipe it right into their home if they can't make it out.
Absolutely. We have dozens of church members that are not able to come out of their homes. And their lifeline to their faith is through watching our online services. You can go there today and check out previous services. It's archived going back years of worship services, but this Sunday in particular will be a special one.
And also this Sunday in particular at 3 p.m., you guys are doing your Blue Christmas service. And this is one of those times to remember that not everybody is celebrating or in a celebratory mood this time of year because of the loss they've maybe suffered in the past or maybe even just this year.
Yes. Pastor Richard was inspired with this idea, and that's because he leads our Grief Share ministry.
We have our Grief Share ministry that we do 13-week sessions of Grief Share for people who are grieving. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we think of those who have just lost a loved one or just lost a friend. But it's for anybody that's lost a person and is still grieving. Mm-hmm. Because people can grieve many years after after the person has died. In fact, sometimes people don't deal with their grief. They weren't allowed to grieve, or they wouldn't allow themselves to grieve. Mm-hmm. It's very important that we grieve, and the Blue Christmas is one of these things that can help us grieve. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people have said to me, since I've lost my wife or my friend, Christmas just doesn't have the same meaning for me. When they say, when somebody says to me, sometimes they say, not everybody says this, Merry Christmas is a phrase that I kind of don't like anymore, because they're joyful and I'm sad. Mm-hmm. And Christmas and the seasons that we celebrate are particularly difficult for them. So our Blue Christmas service is for those who are grieving. Maybe it'll be a little more subdued. Maybe we'll have a little different emphasis on Christmas. The Bible readings maybe will be about the suffering of Christ, and things like that. So.
No, and I, unfortunately, I relate to that. My wife passed back in 2015, and it was close to the Christmas season. Gosh. And so when people were saying Merry Christmas to me, I just wanted them to be quiet. Yeah. Yes. And it took a lot for our family to kind of grieve through that process and do that. So I think we always have to remember that not everybody is in that celebratory spirit or that place.
Not everybody wants to
And the fact that they have a place there in the church is so important. How important is that? Have you had people come up and you say, thank you for recognizing that we're not all celebrating right now?
There are people, we have our Grief Share, which is a group that meets, a group of from 5 to 15. We don't get the same kind of group every time. We're going to start a new Grief Share session starting the 7th of January. It's going to be at 12:30 in the afternoon. We're starting at 12:30 so we can have a daytime session. The last session was an evening session. Mm-hmm. And people that meet together are so happy to have a place where they can talk about their loved one. And they can talk to people who, it's a safe place for them to talk about their loved one who's died, or their friend who's died, their child who has died. Mm-hmm. People they have all kinds of different things they're grieving for. Mm-hmm. And so we give them a safe place to talk about that, and they need to talk about that. The healing comes to us when we share our grief, and they can't share their grief just any place.
Right, a good community place for that here.
You need a place for it, and so we invite people to sign up for a Grief Share. They can go to the Grief Share website and register, or they can just come, or they could register at our church office. That's going to start January 7th at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Fantastic. You guys have a Christmas luncheon coming up on Tuesday, December 10th. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, our Christmas lunch is actually a continuation of our regular every Tuesday lunch that we offer for the community. We call it Senior Day Out. Now, we're not going to turn away anyone. In fact, they welcome me, and I'm not quite yet at that senior threshold. But Senior Day Out, of course, is...
It'll soon come. It'll soon come.
Thanks,
comes for us all.
You hope it'll come. You hope it'll come, right?
Yes, it's coming sooner than we think. But we know how important fellowship is, especially for the residents of the village, because statistically, many people are living alone, and without a reason to get out of the house, in our isolation, it can breed loneliness and despair. So on any Tuesday, we hope that you would come out to Lutheran Church of the Cross for our Senior Day Out lunch. And this is the primary program of the Lutheran Heritage Club. That is why we are here today. Yeah. And but for our Christmas luncheon, we go above and beyond.
It's a bountiful feast.
It's a bountiful feast. It is a Christmas home-cooked meal, and we've decorated the space. It looks fantastic. And last year we had about 150 people for our Christmas luncheon, so we're hoping for about the same. And the cost is $10, and we do ask if you RSVP. You can pay at the door, but if you at least contact the church today, You can see on the screen our email and phone number.
There we go.
To get an RSVP, so we can have an estimated head count.
Sounds
and then
good.
we'd love to see you.
I want to run through this one. We'll get one more slide up. Christmas Eve candlelight worship services 4, 6, and 10 p.m. Christmas Day services 10 a.m. Those are the big ones. We don't need a lot of advertising for that one. And I want to thank Pastor Paul and Pastor Richard for coming in today.
It's always our joy to be here.
Thank you for having
us. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas to you.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.